So this is from a blog called Intellectual Takeout, a refuge for rational discourse. I am not familiar with what this page is. It very well may be a very biased source based on their tagline. Doesn't seem like that's the case, but it's not a mainstream news source. So again, I always try to make sure that when I do these videos, even though it's just my opinion, I try to maintain like a certain standard within the sources I use. This story says fabricating hate crimes is a byproduct of victimhood ideology on college campuses. I would contend this is an op-ed, so keep that in mind. However, I personally don't disagree. There have been a swath of people who fabricated hate crimes. There was one famous story where a Muslim woman claimed someone ripped off her hijab. Never happened. And it's not the only one, but they have some, they have some examples in the story, so we'll look. But I just want to stop and take a look at this. It says, Austin March Against Hate. Hate crimes take a stand. It says, Anna Ayers, a student government leader at Ohio University, reported finding threatening messages in the drawer of her desk a few weeks ago. Ayers, an LGBT student, said that 3 notes were hateful, harassing, according to the Post Athens, a student-run news outlet, and made specific attacks on her sexual identity. Senate will never be the same for me, Ayers told the Post of the notes, the first of which he said appeared September 27th in her desk at the Student Senate. The friendships will continue to grow and our successes will always evoke pride, but the memory of my time in Senate and at OU will be marred by this experience. We will all have a memory of a time when this body failed one of its own. The incident caused a stir on campus. The problem was that stir was based on a lie. Police quickly concluded that no hate crime had taken place and that Ayers actually had written the notes to herself. The authorities charged Ayers with a misdemeanor to which she pleaded not guilty. She is no longer a student at the university. Incidents like this have become a strikingly common trend in the past few years. And looks like we've got a Daily Caller link, especially on college campuses. While most alleged hate crimes on campuses go unsolved, it is hard to ignore the fact that so many hoaxes have occurred. A variety of motivations may prompt a student to make up a hate crime, but one thing is for certain. The overwhelmingly dominant ideology of college campuses celebrates victimhood, even above achievement, and achievement itself is worthless without victimhood. Let me tell you about a really interesting phenomenon to all you who are watching this here YouTube channel. On my Facebook, I've maxed out my friends, right? I've got about 5,000, a little bit less because I stopped accepting requests. It's just, I've probably got thousands upon thousands. For those that aren't familiar with my work, some of the most notable stuff I did early on was covering Occupy Wall Street and many left-wing protests, of which they loved that I was doing that. None of what I did changed. During the first few months of Occupy, I was physically attacked several times, and I called out the black bloc far-left anarchists the entire time, and MSNBC even had me on the air. Michael Moore even donated to me. Now they're all upset that I still call them out for it. But the reason I bring this up is that on my Facebook, I have a divide between the left and the right, even some Antifa types. There are many people associated with Antifa who are actually friends with me on Facebook, and we actually talk relatively often. Some of these people have recently been posting that people are trying to be victims to such an extreme degree, they're willfully losing against the right. And it could be one of the contributing factors as to why the Republicans keep winning. They talk about in this story that the dominant ideology on college campuses celebrates victimhood. What do these people need then? They need the Republicans to win. They need to be the underdog. They need to be out of power to claim that they're victimized so they can benefit individually. It's a really interesting paradox of individuality within this collective. They claim that, Donald Trump is racist and all that stuff. And look, if you think that's whatever your opinion, the point is they claim it. And then they use that to say our administration is fascist and this is why we need X, Y, and Z. I think look, if you want to ask me, I think there are a lot of people who are fundraising off of this. They pump up Trump as the supervillain character and the Republicans so they can make money. After Kavanaugh got confirmed, my mailbox was flooded with one organization sending me fundraising requests. I'm like, gee, I wonder what these people's intention is. Are they trying to win back the Supreme Court? No. They're acting like the world is ending and they're pushing people further left, which only helps the right. When people like Cenk Uygur scream at me, apparently someone wrote that they heard him call me like an effing scumbag. Well, it happened so fast I don't even remember, but do you think that's going to convince me to vote your way, to vote progressive? Oh, hell no. There are centrists, center-left people, moderates, who have been excluded because the NGOs, the activists, need a villain, right? The people on the left are screaming Nazi and alt-right because they need it to build followers, to generate traffic, and to make money. They need to be the victims. When we see stories like this, why would someone make hate crime against themselves so they could give a statement, get in the newspaper, and then get everybody pointing, oh, no, poor you. It happens. Is it rare? Probably. It probably is rare. It's probably not the overwhelming majority of actual hate crimes, but with all these stories, it seems like there is a spike in in hate crime hoaxes. They say, if one doesn't maintain some kind of victimhood status, your opinion is worthless, your accomplishments are dismissed, and your success is written off as the product of privilege. Hence, they let the Republicans win. People on my Facebook were saying, maybe we need to stop playing the victim and actually fight back against Republicans. And a bunch of people commented, but I'm so oppressed, it's oppression every day, the system is oppression, we shouldn't dismiss oppression simply because, you know, we're trying to win and appear strong. And I'm like, there you go. Who do you want to side with? Well, it is often said that people vote for whoever they think is going to win simply because they want to be on the winning side. Then what happens when you're constantly the loser? You lose, right? Plain and simple. It's no wonder Senator Elizabeth Warren continues to maintain that she has Native American heritage, which Harvard Law School once openly celebrated, despite the thinnest evidence that she has any connection to the Cherokee tribe. Right. This is important. A lot of people on the left are defending Elizabeth Warren. They're saying, well, look, her ancestry proves it. No. Elizabeth Warren proved that at some point she might have had a Colombian, Peruvian, or Mexican ancestor, not a Cherokee tribe member. That's a big difference. She said that someone in her family was Cherokee, and then she got someone to say, you absolutely have Native American in your pedigree. Right. Colombian, Peruvian, or Mexican may not actually be anything close to Cherokee at all. Central America is very different, right? For all we know, she had an ancestor who was not Cherokee, and she claimed to be, and it's wrong. And even at that point, the best case scenario is what, 1/64th? Is that really something you should be claiming? Now look, whether or not she used it to her advantage is besides the point. She's actually, you know, asserted herself this status. What bothers me about it is that, look, I don't care if she got ahead. The argument is that she didn't use it to benefit herself. That's fine. But she still repeatedly tells the story of her grandparents who had to elope or whatever because the family didn't like Native Americans. Are you kidding me? Your grandmother was like 1/16th Native American. You couldn't even tell, right? And that made your family had to elope? Yeah, sure, maybe. But how do you think that feels to people who are actually mixed race in this country, whose grandparents and parents actually had to deal with miscegenation laws that didn't end officially until the Supreme Court ruled it illegal in like 1967? To me, I see Elizabeth Warren mocking what my family went through. Am I somebody who really gets triggered by this? Look, yeah, like I get emotional. I get angry about it. Is it going to affect my day-to-day business? No. Because I want to survive. I want to improve. I want to get ahead. You can't sit around being angry at things all day and pointing the finger at other people and being, pissed off about it. If Elizabeth Warren wants to claim she's Native American, by all means, go ahead and do it. I don't care, okay? She wants to claim that her family dealt with hardship because of, because of the racism and whatever. Sure, you go right ahead. I certainly don't believe you, though. And I'm going to lean towards you're probably lying to generate sympathy. They say for students seeking attention and accolades from peers on a modern college campus, it may make sense to create the false impression that you have become the victim of a hate crime or some other kind of oppression. This is especially true given how quickly the stories are exploited for political effect by social justice warriors and an eager media, regardless of whether the stories are actually true. The infamous 2014 report by Rolling Stone magazine on an entirely made-up rape at the University of Virginia is a prime example. The media soaked up and ran with a story about a violent rape on a campus that turned out to be a bizarre scenario created by a troubled student. Seriously, outside of whatever culture and ideology you want to point out, the media loves a victim story. People love an underdog. Portraying American college campuses as bastions of rape, misogyny, and homophobia is almost laughable. But that is the story activists wanted to run with. What do you think is going to happen to universities when people keep claiming the universities are crime-ridden and rape-ridden? Do you think people are going to want to go to those universities? We're trying to encourage more women in universities. That's the narrative, right? Women now, there are more females in universities than men. So I don't know if that makes sense at this point. Do you think women are going to be like, oh, gee whiz, I want to go to that school if you keep talking about how they're all getting raped? I can only imagine they're going to say no. And it's mind-numbing to me because many of these universities operate like a business. You have to imagine your enrollment is going to drop. If the student body thinks they're going to get raped if they go to your school, perhaps you shouldn't persist these kinds of narratives when you see these false stories. It freaks people out, and it makes people not want to go to college. Which, look, I think college is stupid anyway. That's a statement for a different video. They say, I would say now 80% of the events that happen on campus are hoaxes and pranks, Laird Wilcox, author of the book Crying Wolf, Hate Crime Hoaxes in America, told Fox News. It's a place where consciousness of discrimination, sexism, and homophobia is at a peak. And when there's nothing happening and they need something to happen, they can make it happen. Because it's not just about you being the personal victim. It's about your ideology surviving. And in order for you to claim that rape culture exists, you need these hate crimes to happen. What happens when they don't? People make it up. Does that mean that people are not being assaulted? No, of course they are. And colleges, I would imagine you've got a bunch of young people and a lot of drinking, and it's probably more often, there than anywhere else. So I can imagine that a lot of the women who are there, who are surrounded by this kind of culture of weird, white knighty male feminist guys who are indoctrinated, who actually don't respect women, they believe that the world is a rape culture because they've surrounded themselves with these predatory, weird male feminist, rapist types. In the real world, though, people are actually rather chill, and for the most part want to be left alone. If you've ever watched Fight Club, you can see this. They talk in the beginning how most people do everything they can to avoid a fight. And that's true. And that means the average person looks at a school like Evergreen and says, I don't want to go there. It's just constant, protests. Even I met some progressives at Berkeley, and they flat out said, it's like, we're paying to be here, and they keep pulling fire alarms and occupying buildings. We're trying to get an education. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it goes. So, look, I can rag on college for another whole other section. We'll just wrap up with the final thought this guy makes. He says, if we want fewer hate crime hoaxes on campus, perhaps we need to change what is openly valued in academia to focus on achievement rather than knapsacks of privilege and ladders of oppression. That's not likely to happen anytime soon. No wonder Americans are in a populist mood. Plain and simple. Anyway, that's about it for me. Thanks for hanging out. You can follow me. I'm on Twitter, and more videos on my main channel. A lot of people don't know this. This is not my main channel. It's my second channel, so go to youtube.com/timcast for daily videos at 4 p.m., and I start all of my videos on this channel at 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you tomorrow.